Hey guys, Cyber Aquarist here, coming at you with another episode of Reefing Fundamentals. In the first episode, we looked at our essential elements and we determined what our parameters needed to be in order to provide for coral growth as well as prevent active precipitation. So in this video, we're going to go to the next step. I'm going to show you guys some test kits, show you how to get an accurate result using the test kits available to us today to avoid some common mistakes. And then I'm going to show you how to take those results and keep it in a log and help you to determine a dosing regimen. And then I'm going to show you some of the products that I use and how I dose them to my aquarium. Well, here before me I have 3 different manufacturers' test kits. The first one here is an entry-level test kit by API. This is the calcium test kit. You can get this for under $10 locally or online. You can get it even a little cheaper. And the second test kit I have here is Seachem's Reef Status Calcium. Now this one here is approaching a lab quality test kit. Here you have a reference solution, which I really like the fact that this lets you validate the accuracy of your test. What you would do is use this for your sample, run a test, and it shows that your result of calcium should be 387 milligrams per liter. So you can, in a sense, calibrate your test kit. And the second test I have here, well guys, this one is about $29 at Drs. Foster and Smith. And the third kit here is the Red Sea Reef Foundation Pro Test Kit. This one has calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium test kits included. This runs around $60 at Drs. Foster and Smith. Now this one is a very high grade lab quality test, and the initial investment is a little steep, but as you keep using this, it gets cheaper because the refills, this Calcium Pro refill, I got it for like $12 at, I think I got this in bulk reef supply. So the longer that you use the Red Sea, the more it's going to pay off in the end, but the initial investment is steep, and this is a really accurate test. Now I want to make note, let you guys know that I ran a calcium test using the same sample of water at the same time. I used all 3 of these tests. Using the Seachem Reef Status Calcium, the test showed 425 milligrams per liter. Then I ran the same test with the same sample with the Red Sea Calcium, and it showed a result of 420 milligrams per liter. So these were within 5 milligrams of each other. Then I ran the API test, and it showed the result to be 500 milligrams per liter. So I wanted to determine which of these tests were the most accurate. I used the reference solution to check each test. The Seachem test came in spot on at 425 milligrams per liter. That was the accurate result. The Red Sea test kit at 420 was 5 milligrams per liter less than accurate. And the API test came in 75 milligrams per liter below accuracy. Well, I know a lot of people that are using the API, and I would like to say that this is going to get you in the ballpark, but at 75 milligrams per liter, if you're trying to maintain 420 milligrams per liter of calcium, and you're 75 milligrams per liter too high, then this is going to risk the chance of active precipitation. So my advice to you would be to invest a little bit more money initially and get either the Seachem test kit, and this is available for alkalinity as well as magnesium, or the Red Sea Reef Foundation Pro test kit. I'm going to go ahead and run a test now and show you guys some common mistakes to avoid. So let's go ahead and use the Red Sea Calcium Pro test kit. No matter which test kit you're using, you're going to want to make sure that it hasn't expired or you're just wasting your time. Red Sea clearly marks each of their bottles with an expiration date. In this case, it's December 2017. Check every bottle. And another thing that Red Sea and Seachem both do is they mark all of their bottles with a lot number. So if you feel that you're getting tests in error, you can contact Red Sea or Seachem, give them the lot number, and they'll let you know if there's been any problems with those lots. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is to make sure that we're not cross-contaminating our sample vial. And we also want to make sure that the sample vial is clean. This one here has precipitate in it. I'll let this one build up for you guys so I could show you what you want to avoid. And you may have been wondering what the bottle of vinegar was for at the beginning of the video. I use this to clean up my vials in between tests. Just fill that up and I'll let that sit to the side for a few days. But I already have some other vials here that are clean. Now, in order to avoid cross-contamination through samples, I mark all of the caps for each test. You want to make sure that you're always using the alkalinity vial when you're running a carbonate hardness test, your calcium, and your magnesium. Like I said, avoid any cross-contamination. We're using the calcium for this test. And one thing that I really like about the Red Sea test kit, you have all your different cards here. We're using the calcium test here. Each test in the Red Sea test kit comes with its own color-coded syringe to help avoid cross-contamination. The clear syringes are for magnesium, the blue tip syringe is for your alkalinity, and the red tip syringe is for your calcium. It doesn't really matter which tip that you use for the test initially, just as long as you continue using that color for each particular test. You don't want to get any magnesium titrant in the end of your calcium syringe or vice versa. So we're going to be running the calcium test. I'll go ahead and set this syringe to the side over here. And let me go ahead and get my syringe to abstract the sample from the aquarium. Now, the syringe on the Red Sea test kit does not have the 5 milliliter graduation. You have a 4 and a 6, so we're going to be filling halfway between 4 and 6 to the second line. I decided to go ahead and bring you guys in here to show you something else that you need to do when you're extracting your sample. Place the tip of your syringe under the water's surface, and you want to prime the bulb to force out any air bubbles. I'm going to go ahead and extract 5 milliliters. Get it right to the line. Okay. Now there are not any air bubbles trapped in here, so we know we have 5 milliliters that we can add to our sample vial. Okay guys, so now I have 5 milliliters of my sample. I'm going to go ahead and add it to the sample vial, and I always plunge the syringe a few times to make sure that there's no more water trapped in the tip. And then also I look for any drops that may have got on the side of the test vial. Rotate the vial and let the solution capture any of those drops. Alright, so we have all the sample down in the bottom of the vial. We're going to start with reagent A. We're going to add 5 drops. Hold on, son, I'm shooting a video, wait 1 minute. We're going to add 5 drops. Should have been in a car, CJ. Alright, start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Always make sure that you invert your bottles, your reagent bottles, completely vertical so that you'll ensure the uniformity of the drops. And we're going to swirl this for 10 seconds. Okay, now we're going to add reagent B, one level scoop. Now this is very critical here. Whenever you're getting a level scoop, that means a level scoop. I've seen the guy on the Red Sea test video, he just gets a scoop and puts it in. But make sure that you've got a heaping scoop. Now I'm going to take the card and I'm going to rake off the excess powder back into the vial. And now that's a level scoop. We're going to add this to the test solution, or to our sample, and I always tap the little spoon there to make sure it all gets in and make sure none of it's on the edges. But we're going to swirl that for 20 seconds. Try to get all that powder that got around the edge of the sample. Try to capture that. Okay, now this next step is very, very important if you're trying to determine a dosing regimen. I'm going to show you something in the instructions here. Right here, you guys can pause it if you want, but whenever you're filling the titration syringe, you're going to have an air gap at the top. Let me show you the syringe here. Whenever you abstract the solution, the titrant, into the syringe, the liquid is going to be, you're going to extract this all the way to the top right there, the very top line of 1.0 milliliters. There's going to be an air gap right in here. And the instructions say it can be anywhere between 0.1 to 0.15 milliliters of an air gap. Well, if you're trying to base a dosing regimen on with 0.05 alterations, that can be as much as 25 milligrams per liter difference with each test. So what I do is when I'm pulling out the titrant from the titration vial C, I record how much of the solution I get on my very first test, and I always make sure to capture that much solution every time. Now I'm sticking the tip of the syringe below the surface of the solution, and I know my test always needs, my solution always needs to be 0.87 milliliters because that's what I've always used, because we're trying to determine how much the corals use on a daily basis. Now I've got 0.87 milliliters. I don't want any of the solution on the tip. I'm going to put the titrator onto the test vial. Then you slide the syringe down into the titrator. Now we're going to start administering the drops as we're swirling. I'm going to make a prediction, guys. My test is going to be anywhere between 420 to 425 milligrams per liter. That's what it's been over the past year because I've got my dosing regimen so precise. All right, now we're looking for a change to blue. It's going to turn lavender, but we want to make sure that it's a true blue. See, it's starting to turn a little bit. But what we want to do now is start slowing down, swirl it around. It's lavender. Add another drop. I can still see lavender starting to form, so we're going to add another drop. All right, that's blue, but hold on. All right, it's turning lavender again. Going to add another drop, very slowly. All right, that's blue, but hold on. Swirl it a little bit more. It takes time for that one drop to be incorporated throughout the solution. For those of you that think that's blue, that's still lavender. You can hold it up against a white background to check. One more drop. All right, it's looking blue. Hold on just a second. You can still see a lavender. All right, one more drop. All right, that's blue. I think we're good to go there. So let's look at how much solution we've used. We count down from the top. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 84. 80.84 milliliters of the solution. Now we're going to go to our reference on the back of the card, 0.84. See if you guys can see that. 420 milligrams per liter. Alright guys, now we're going to record those results in our log. We're going to take a look at my log and I'm going to show you guys how to determine your dosing regimen based on our results. Let's go look at that. Alright guys, I'm going to try to make this part as easy as I can. The first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to lock in our parameters at what we discussed in the first episode of the essential elements. We want calcium to be 420 milligrams per liter, and we want alkalinity to be anywhere between 8 and 12 degrees carbonate hardness. Magnesium, we're not really that concerned on a dosing regimen with that. We're just going to do our weekly tests and we'll know how much we need to dose. But you see here at the start of my log, I wrote down how much of the titration solution that I need to be in the syringe as my starting point every time, because what we're trying to figure out is how much the corals are using on a daily basis. My calcium titration started at 0.87 of the solution in the syringe. I showed you guys that during the test. If I was to start with 0.85 one time and 0.89 another time, I'd get totally different results and it would throw off my dosing. So just be sure to start with the same amount every time. I wrote that down so I won't forget it. Now, once we run our first test, we have to know how much of the product we're using we're going to need to add in order to raise calcium or alkalinity to within the parameters we want. We're going to take calcium as an example here using Aquavitro's calcification. On the back of the bottle, it says right here, each 10 milliliters for every 36 gallons. So I wrote this down. 10 milliliters over 36 will raise calcium by 10 milligrams per liter. Now what I want to figure out is how much X do I want to dose in my 30 gallons. And we're going to do some simple algebra, do some cross multiplication. 36 times X, 36X, 30 times 10 is 300. And then we're going to isolate X, divide by 36. X is equal to 8.33. So I know that with my aquarium, I need to dose 8.33 milliliters of calcification to raise calcium by 10 milligrams per liter. Now over here I wrote that down, and we can break it down even further. If I want to raise it only 5, I'm going to take half of 8.33. It's going to be 4.15 milliliters of calcification. If I want to raise my calcium by only 2.5 milligrams per liter, half of 4.15 is 2.075. I'm not really worried about splitting hairs, so 2 milliliters will suffice. If you want to do any combination of these, if you want to raise it 12 milligrams per liter, add the 10 and the 2.5 would be 10.34. So just figure out exactly how much that you want to add to raise your parameter by a certain amount. Once you have your calcium locked in at 420, that's your starting point. That's your starting point. Then you're going to want to start keeping your log. And what I did, guys, I recorded my test results day after day after day. And a lot of people will tell you to test your calcium on day 1 and then test it the next day and to subtract the difference between the two results, and that'll tell you how much your corals are using. Guys, I tried that for months and months and it did not work. So I've came up with what I consider to be my tank's trend. And I'll show you guys the point at which I figured out my tank's dosing regimen right here. I recorded the amount of each product that I used, in this case calcification. I have a chart just like this for each additive that I'm using, but what I did is I went 45 days out. This is the number of days, and then I wrote down how much of each product that I had to add to keep my calcium at 420 milligrams per liter. So I ran a test. I had to add 8.33 milliliters of calcification. The second day I didn't have to add anything. The third day I had to add 8.33. Fourth day nothing, so on and so forth. On days 8, 9, and 10 I did not have to add anything. 11 and 12 I had to add 8.33 milliliters. So I kept doing this all the way down for 45 days. Then what I did was I added up all my doses, every one of these, added them up, and then you divide by 45, or the number of days that you tested for. I came up with 3.63 milliliters, and right here I wrote my starting calcification dose is 3.60 milliliters to maintain calcium at 420 milligrams per liter. Now you don't have to go 45 days out. Start with 7 days. You can go 7 days, record the amount of each dose that you've added and divide by the number of days, and that's going to get you fairly close. But the further you go out, the more accurate it's going to be. If you go 7 days out, test at least once a week and adjust your dosing accordingly. But dosing every day produces much better results than dosing once or twice a week. I could very easily just dose 10.5 milliliters twice a week. And then you say, oh, that's easy, just 10.5 milliliters twice a week. But by breaking it down into a daily dose, my levels stay consistent, and the corals have responded very well, a lot better than if you were doing twice a week dosing. And guys, a lot of people are using dosing pumps. If you're using a dosing pump, you can break your dosing down throughout the day. Rather than 3.60 milliliters a day like I do, you could break that down into 3 doses of 1.20 milliliters. Now what I do everything by hand. I use these pipettes. I have 3 milliliter pipettes and 1 milliliter pipettes, so I know exactly how much I'm dosing. And these are in graduations of a quarter. So this is a quarter of a milliliter, half, 0.75, and 1. And with a combination of these different size pipettes, I can dose 3.60 milliliters of calcification every night and 8.0 milliliters of reef carbonate every morning. And I'm going to show you guys how I administer these products to the aquarium. So let's go ahead and go to that real quick. Alright guys, so these are the 4 products that I use to maintain my essential elements. On the left here, this is Aquavitro's Ions. This is the only form of magnesium supplementation on the market that does not contain ammonia. And we all know that ammonia, as it goes through the nitrogen cycle, turns to nitrate. I rarely have to use this because magnesium tends to be maintained through my water changes. I use Aquavitro Salinity for that. And of course, for my calcium, I'm using Aquavitro's calcification. This contains both the organic and inorganic forms of calcium. The organic form, calcium polyglutamate, ensures that alkalinity will not be depleted as calcium rises, and it also prevents active precipitation. 8,4, I really don't use this that much anymore, but 8,4 raises your alkalinity and sets your pH at 8.4. I use reef carbonate instead in the mornings. I use 8 milliliters of this every morning, which I'll show you guys here in just a little bit. But if you're going on vacation and you're leaving your aquarium dosing up to a friend, all of the Aquavitro products can be dosed within minutes apart without risking any chance of precipitation. So I keep a bottle of this on hand. This one's almost empty. One thing I need to point out, we know that corals uptake calcium and bicarbonates at a ratio of 1:1. But that doesn't mean that your calcium dose is going to be the same as your alkalinity dose, because alkalinity products are comprised of carbonates, bicarbonates, as well as other elements. Every morning I add 8 milliliters of reef carbonate to 3/4 cups of RODI water. I don't want this to be at full strength when I add it to the aquarium, and I go ahead and mix it up pretty good to make sure that it's incorporated throughout the RODI water. I then pour this mixture very slowly in my display near my MP10. I want to make sure that the molecules get evenly distributed throughout the aquarium before they have a chance to hit my return pump. You don't want to add any of your dosing products into a sump or your filtration chambers, because we discussed in episode 1, seawater's supersaturated, and these molecules will be like bottleneck traffic whenever they hit a small orifice like a return pump, and they can cause precipitation. Here I am in the evening dosing 3.60 milliliters of calcification. I'm using a 1 milliliter pipette. I don't have to pre-dilute the calcification in RODI water because of the polygluconate form of calcium, but I still add it to the display near the MP10. Guys, one thing that you want to make sure to do is test at least once a week, even after you've got your dosing schedule down, because as your corals grow, your coral's demand for the essential elements is going to increase. So just watch your tests once a week, determine how much of the product you need to add to compensate based on the calculations you made, and then just add that in and divide it up over 7 days. All right, well, here's the last 0.60 milliliters. And this is a good time to check my equipment too before I go to bed for the night. So there you have it. For you guys who hung in here with me till the end of this video, I appreciate it. so I want to reward you with a little bit of eye candy. This is the Red Sea Reefer 65 gallon at Aquarium Outfitters in Athens, Georgia. And guys, I created a survey to see which test kits you all are using. So please complete that survey, and if you have any comments pertaining to this video, drop them in the comments section below and I'll be sure to get back with you. As always guys, thanks for watching.